Alright people, what's going on with you? This is Crazy D, and this is episode 3 of TFR Talk Live. And we have a great show for you today, right? We want to first say that if you have not seen these are the film review period articles, right? So make sure that you pick that up when you're out, and pick it up, and you can stay abreast of the different shows that we have coming out. Join the TFR membership, right? And that's what it is. So we don't have phone lines up for the Talk Live yet, but stay tuned for that because we surely will soon. But do we have a great show for you today? You know, there's a mysterious lung disease going around, you know, that just came out, and the CDC and the other organizations are talking about it, right? So my question is, when did we start to trust the government weed? That's what our question is today. Once the government gets into regulating something, why would we trust it, right? So if you're not abreast of the story, there's a new mysterious lung disease going around, right? And it has to do with inhaling, vaping and inhaling, weed or vapor smoke, right? So the FDA says avoid the THC, avoid inhaling THC. The CDC says avoid e-cigarettes. And both say it's too early to pinpoint the culprit vaping linked to the illness, right? So neither one seems to know what's happening with the vaping, right? So this is the main topic we're going to talk about first. But first, let me say this. And if you haven't seen this yet, you really need to watch it after you finish watching this, of course. But right here. Yesterday evening, my wife and I interviewed Deshawn Snow, Real Housewife of Atlanta. She was on the first season of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, 2008. And since then, she has gone on to be an entrepreneur, an author, etc., etc., etc. Now, this interview is very important for anyone who has not gone to college, but your children are going to college, or your cousins are going to college, your niece or nephews are going to college. Make sure that you watch this, because the questions that we asked her, she was able to go in and discuss with us, you know, what was going, what college was like, what the preparation was like, pre-college, while she was in high school, during her high school career, and then into her college career. So that is very important. Plus we hit health and fitness topics, high self-esteem within preteen girls. All of that was discussed because this is something that is important to her heart, Deshawn Snow, and she's out there making sure that she brings about positive outcomes in people's lives. Plus, we talk about the behind the scenes of being a basketball wife, being a wife of an athlete. So it's a very interesting interview. Now, here's something again that I'm really proud of before we get started with the main topic here today, is Lordland Theater. Lordland Theater. A new episode every Saturday morning. A new episode happens, right? And now, we've talked about this, and I continue to talk about this because we have a promo package going out there for business owners, brick and mortar business owners, right? I came from brick and mortar, 15 years successful in brick and mortar. You saw that in the last episode. I showed you how I won awards and won laurels for my films, talking about the Black Ice Chronicles, which was based on my 15 years in retail. So I have a background in retail, but I also have a background in theater and film, editing, shooting, all that. So we will come to your establishment and shoot you and put you in an episode of Lordland Theater. Now, I don't want people to try to bite this, because they can't bite it, because what's going to happen is their thing is going to end up dust, and the sound quality is going to be horrible because they don't know films. I don't want them to go out there and try to bite this. Just leave this alone. This is Crazy D, original concepts. I have 1 million concepts a day, 1 million ideas. The difference between my ideas and most is when I say I have an idea, I have the lights, camera, action, and the ability to bring it to full fruition, bring it to life. And that's what we do over here at LordlandFilms.com. Get people seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated, to live on well past the time that we are here on this planet. And that's what it's all about over here at LordlandFilms.com. Now, we have the special packages. We have the sponsorship package, where you become a sponsor of the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, or you can become an advertisement partner, which stretches the dollar, which puts you and populates you on everything the Film Review. And that's what you want. You want frequency and coverage, and that's what we do every time the new episode of Lordland Theater comes out. Lordland Theater. Every time it comes out, 250 people automatically hit it, and then it builds from there. You can go right over to LordlandFilms.com page on Facebook, and you will see this, and you will say yes, and watch the episodes. You will laugh, and your ad can go at the beginning or at the end or in the middle of Lordland Theater. Plus, you will act in Lordland Theater. So get with me, inbox me, or contact me on my email, LordlandEnterprises@hotmail.com. That's LordlandEnterprises@hotmail.com. Matter of fact, just send me your email at LordlandEnterprises@hotmail.com so you can be on the email blast list. We blast out once a week to let people know what shows we have coming up. We want to shout out to Getty Wright, who chimed in, Alex, who chimed in, Jackie Like, who chimed in, who are watching us right now. And this right here is a phenomenal special, because once you watch what we do, you're going to be seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated, and it's going to seem as if you have acted all of your life, because I'm just that good of editor to put it there. That great of editor. Let me say that first. That great of editor to make it happen. All right? So that's what we do here at Lordland Films, as I play around with the image a little bit. Now, as we move forward. So that's the special for Lordland Theater, and we want you to come in. Now, our main topic, one of our main topics for today. There is a mysterious lung disease. As you see the graphic that I just put up, let me make it a little larger so you can see it even better. There's a mysterious lung disease. What should people avoid inhaling during mysterious lung disease outbreak? Health officials disagree. Now, we teased that, but let's get into this. There's a mysterious lung disease coming from vaping, THC, and vaping. And they're saying they don't know what it is, why it is, how you get it. They have no answer to it, right? But this is supposed to be the CDC and the health organizations, and they're supposed to already know, or they should already know, because they probably caused it, right? No doubt about that they probably caused it. Now, what should people avoid inhaling during mysterious lung disease outbreak? So what they're telling you is stop inhaling, avoid THC. And they're telling you avoid e-cigarettes. CDC says avoid the e-cigarette. FDA says avoid THC. Well, you know what THC is the active ingredient in marijuana, weed, cannabis that gets you high. And so stay away from that and stay away from e-cigarettes. Now, my question to you people is, why would we trust anything that's being regulated by the government? Have we not experienced what the government has done previously? So why would we just go out and, just totally believe what the government would say? Do you remember, or maybe you don't, because some of you may be too young and they don't really, they make the movies about prohibition, but they don't really tell you about what was going on in prohibition. Because you could say that THC or marijuana has been in prohibition for some time, right? Now, there was a meme that came out a few years ago that talked about in 1926 how the federal government poisoned alcohol in an effort to curb alcohol consumption during the Prohibition. As a result, by the time Prohibition ended in 1933, an estimated 10,000 people died from becoming poisoned by their own government, right? Now, people can argue the point, and say, did the United States government actually poison the people, or was it just happenstance, right? So I came on late. I came on a little late because we usually come on at 10 now as we start in this new show and everything. But I had to do my research on this to get the answers to this as we move forward to talk about it. Would the United States government poison their own people to keep them from drinking alcohol during Prohibition? Right? So I came across this interesting article, and you can look this up on the net and read it for yourself, right? And so the person who wrote the article was talking about the pros and cons of, did the United States government do it or didn't they do it, right? And so my thing is, if they did do something and then it had the main effect or the total effect on wiping out a group of people, 10,000 people, then they did it. It's no other way that you can say it. So the article goes on to say that the government had found a way in 1926 to put doses of what would be poison to a human being inside the alcohol, and had the seals, the United States seals of alcohol on it, and they let it sit, and thus the bootleggers were stealing alcohol as the story went. So that's what we pick up at, right? So the bootleggers discovered that the alcohol was poison, so they hired their own chemist to renaturalize the alcohol product so that it could be consumed, right? So I'm going to read this. To sell the stolen industry alcohol, the liquor syndicates employed chemists to renatural the products, returning them to a drinkable state. The bootleggers paid their chemists a lot more than the government did, and they excelled at their job. Stolen and redistilled alcohol became the premium source of liquor in the country. So federal officials ordered manufacturers to make their products far more deadly. Okay, so if you can have a debate about if the United States government, killed up their people, but if the officials are telling the chemists, the manufacturers, to make the product even more deadly, then that means that they did it. And knowing this history right here, why would you then consume anything that had to do with, necessarily the government having any regulation on it, especially when they haven't found a way to make money off of it and everyone's squabbling over money, right? So let me read this next paragraph. By mid-1927, the new denaturalizing formulas included some notable poisons: kerosene, gasoline, benzene, iodine, zinc, mercury salt, nicotine, ether, and then methyl alcohol. That's the rubbing alcohol, right? By the time that this was happening in the mid-1927, the Treasury Department also demanded more ethyl alcohol be added up to 10% of the total product of the drinking alcohol. It was the methyl alcohol that proved most deadly. Okay? So, to curb people drinking alcohol, 10,000 people died, but how many people became just sickly because of it and then had to be placed on the welfare system that came out, right? Because they were sickly because of it. But 10,000 Americans died because of this. And so I would ask the question again, why would we, as a people, I don't smoke weed, never did, probably won't, you know what I'm saying? If I smoke weed, I always said this, me and a person who, many people who have enthused in it, we would talk about it, and I would say that if I started now, then I would build up a tolerance, and then when I really needed it, if I caught something that was terminal and I just wanted to go out peacefully without using the methamphetamine drugs, so to speak, that they give out in the hospital for pain. If I wanted to go out, then I would have a built up a tolerance, and then it won't work. So, I'm not adverse to people using it, but I would use it at the end, when the end came, right? So, over a year and a half ago, we had a podcast called Nothing But the Facts. It was myself, Franklin G. Prayers go up to Franklin G. to get healthy and get back up on his feet, and Simo. And we had a discussion on whether the government weed is poisoned. I sounded this alarm over a year ago, right? I sounded this alarm over a year ago. So we're gonna go ahead and play this real quick. Then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna come in and finish, and we're gonna talk about different government officials who have now, before they were totally against marijuana. They changed the name, marijuana, but they call it cannabis. They were totally against marijuana. They were totally against weed and the distribution of weed, but now that it's called cannabis, they're getting involved in it. And I'm like, they're getting involved in it, but what are they doing to the quote unquote cannabis? So we're going to be right back right after this.
African Americans are happy to be.
So in 2053, when this flatline wealth, everyone will still be happy where they are.
Well, hopefully I'll be around and you can ask me, but what are you going to do? You have to stay where you are right now and try to better your family economically in preparation for that, now that you're armed with that knowledge. But most of us won't do that.
I got you guys. I'll be the change in 2053. Nothing but
It'll be the change that you can believe in.
I'll be the change.
All right, Franklin.
I'm not going to rap
Close
anymore.
us out on this low note about
Please,
there
yeah.
will be no advancement. Close us out.
There'll be no call from the governor since you've already been prepared with the knowledge that blackness is on the way out. Financially, chemically, not chemically, get that chemically?
Well, chemically too, they're putting it, once John Boehner jumped on the board.
Come on, man. Don't mess with the earth. I told you not to mess with the earth,
I'm
man.
just telling the truth.
Stop,
though.
yo.
Telling the truth.
I just want to know.
So as soon as people
You know
start
they don't call
being
that earth, right?
zombies for a whole month,
Come on,
I
man.
want to say,
Wow.
oh, there goes that Boehner weed.
Those Boehner Bones. Get that Boehner Bones. I want to. Hey, what company that is? You know that's some governmental shit.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you know they got the best shit.
Which
you know they
the
got
government
best
is
shit.
starting to regulate weed and shit. Trust that. Go back to prohibition. Read up on prohibition and what they did with the alcohol. Just saying, you know.
That's all right. Seagram's is a good brand. So is vodka, all that kind of stuff. But the reality is, herb will be everywhere in his generational time. That's a beautiful thing.
Just Puffy's vodka. No. Yeah, Ciroc.
Yeah.
Just Ciroc, not the other vodka. Leave that alone. Just if you're going to
Keep it
lush
American.
yourself
Make
out.
like American Russian
That's
product.
right.
You're a black man.
That's
yeah,
right. Exactly. All right. So we're back. So as we sit here and look at this situation, right? We're looking at the situation, and like then, I warned then in that broadcast to watch what the government is doing. Go back and look at what they were doing in 1926, 1927, right? Now you can say that it wasn't the government, it was individuals within the government misusing their power to then put these poisonous chemicals into the alcohol to deter people. But they went on so far to say, okay, the syndicate, the bootleggers, could renaturalize or renature the alcohol, so we're going to make it even more potent, more deadly for people to drink to stop the drinking of alcohol during Prohibition, right? 10,000 people died in between that time, right? So I referenced John Boehner. John Boehner was a congressman, leader of the House during the 8 years of President Obama, and he blocked everything that President Obama tried to do. It didn't matter if President Obama had him come out to have Beer Summit 2, 3, 4, or if they were friendly, cordial to one another. It didn't matter. You know, he was about blocking everything that President Obama did. So why would you then trust someone getting into that business? I don't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? No accusations to him, but why would I trust someone getting into the business of cannabis who was staunchly against it? But then as soon as there's money to be made, because there's money to be made in the ability of it to cure things, and it's also money to be made in making it so it causes ailments, right? That's what the healthcare system is about. There's more money though in the person being sick than being healed. Isn't that right? That's what we're fighting, right? That's what they were fighting, pro or con against the ACA, right? Or what they call Obamacare. Most people didn't know that there was ACA and that they were, kids on their parents' health care until they're 26, etc., 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 and all the different things. Couldn't be rejected from insurance companies because of pre-existing conditions. Now, if you have a mysterious lung disease that there has been no diagnosis for, that will be considered a pre-existing condition, and you will, my friend, be excluded from off the road. So, this is totally what this is about, right? This is totally what this is about. I want to say what's up to Shanine, who just chimed in, Treese, who just chimed in. We're talking about the mysterious lung disease that has come about due to vaping, THC, and vaping in general, and how the two health organizations that are supposed to be about the people are in disagreement about what's really causing it, right? What should people avoid inhaling during mysterious lung disease outbreak? Health officials disagree. And what they disagree on, the FDA says avoid inhaling THC. The CDC says avoid e-cigarettes, but neither can agree on or have deciphered or found out what the true culprit is that's causing this mysterious lung disease. But what is the vitality of life, people? This is why I often ask people who smoke cigarettes or smoke anything else, what makes you vital in life? It's your lung capacity. It's the ability for your lungs to take in air and exhale air, and the more that you can pump in, the further you can run. The healthier your lungs, the further you will go. So why would you do anything that would risk your lung capacity, right? There's so much in the air already. I mean, we used to be in Cleveland and we would look at the factories churning out the smoke from the smokestacks, right? We would just see, good afternoon, Therese. We would just see them chugging out this smoke going up in the air. You know, it's what they call the rust belt. But those factories, even when we went home just this last time, the factories are still chugging out. If the factories aren't there anymore, they sure are still chugging out smoke into the atmosphere, going up into the stratosphere, right? So, you know, it's a lot of questions to be asked. So why would you do anything else that will cause you to have low lung capacity, right? And people can say anything they want, but this right here is a warning shot, because for some reason I don't think that they believe that they will be able to get their hands around the money making aspect of marijuana, weed, or what they call cannabis. So this can be the warning shot about what they're going to be doing to what you're smoking, what you're inhaling into your lungs. And remember, again, as I say this again, what is the vitality of life but your lung capacity? That is the vitality of life. That's what makes you move. That's what makes you virile. It makes you strong. If you don't have that, you can be as big muscles as you want. But I would say in these times coming up, you should be less muscular, more thin, but it's your lungs, it's your muscle, it's your heart. That's what makes you viral movement, right? So why would you put anything in there? So in 1926, the United States government, some people in the United States government, since people in the article, they wanted to try to say that the United States government did do it. Okay, some people within the United States government used their power to poison 10,000 Americans who died, not to mention the ones who were internally maimed by what they did, and took away their vitality, right? Going through the circulatory system and feeding it. So why would you think that it would be any different with the weed? And we played that. Why would you think it would be any different with the cannabis? Anything that's regulated, you know, it can't be as good as it once was, because there's money in so-called creating a cure, a pill. So you're smoking the cannabis, but then all of a sudden you were young and strong, and now you're feeble, and you might as well just be an older person. You were young and viral, then you turn young and feeble, and then you have to take a pill along with it to help lung capacity. How about that? Is this not a sinister game that's being played? I don't think, Tree says, I don't think people are thinking about that aspect of smoking, especially if you started when you were younger. This is true, but once this came out, like when I first, because you know I don't vape, don't smoke cigarettes, don't do any of that. But when I first saw the vaping situation, I was like, what is this? And I remember people were trying to say, well, this isn't smoking, this is vaping. I said, you're sucking in a smoke and you're blowing it out. So I'm still getting secondhand, but I'm getting it straight from your mouth instead of it coming out the cigarette and coming out your mouth. Now it's just coming out your mouth. I'm catching secondhand smoke, whatever this vapor is, whatever chemical that they made it with, a chemical that they made it with. But no matter however you cut it, there is a mysterious lung disease outbreak happening, and neither health organization could come up with a clear-cut reason on why this is going on, right? They have no clear-cut reason of why this is going on. Now I'm seeing perfect streaming. If you happen to see that the screen freezes, just refresh your browser. That means that I'm talking conversation today. What's going on to Catrice Thomas? She just joined in. If you see it and it freezes, because I'm looking at perfect streaming here. If you see it and it's freezing, just start your browser, refresh your browser, because I'm talking conversation that they might not want to be heard. But this is very true, because here at TFR Talk Live, we will talk what people usually don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it, and so we talk about it right here. So how about that? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Could this be a parallel from 1926 all the way to 1933, and we could be looking at, from the time that it started, the prohibition for marijuana has been going on for a long time, but they started to legalize in certain states, and we could see people succumb to some kind of chemical that was put in to do people in. So these are the type of things that we're looking at, and it's weird. What's going on to Scott? I see he just chimed in. So this is weird, and go research this, because this is very important, because the next generation is coming up, and whenever there's a downturn, or whenever there's a sense that consciousness is rising, they always want to put something there that will slow that particular generation that looks like it's going to be the one to change things and change up the status quo. They always put something there. So look for this meme and one more time before we move on to the next topic. But look for this meme, about 1926, and then do your research, and do your research on this mysterious lung disease that's coming from vaping e-cigarettes and vaping THC, right? And neither one of the health organizations can come up with why it's happening, but they know it's happening, right? So they know it's happening, right? So before we go on to the next topic, I want to say this. We have our newsletter that comes out via email. So what happens is you send me your email at lordlandenterprises@hotmail.com. That's lordlandenterprises@hotmail.com. And we will put you on the blast out list. We blast out only once a week, but it's jam-packed of information that you need to know, different shows of the film review that you should watch, especially Lordland Theater, right? And so that comes out once a week, and it keeps you abreast, and you would check in and say, I need to come on and watch some of these things, because they're putting on great programming over there at lordlandfilms.com. All right. So, or you can inbox me your email, and you will be placed on the Lordland Enterprises at lordlandenterprises@hotmail.com blast out list, and that's what it is. Now, people, have you seen this photo? Have you seen this photo of teaching black people the politic of personal responsibility? The politic of personal responsibility says that you're supposed to not be brutalized in the streets or to not be seen as a threat. You're supposed to basically go from what I call Kunta Kinte to Toby, right? So you're supposed to go from Kunta Kinte to Toby, right? So when I say Kunta Kinte was the free embodiment of the black man who came. He was enslaved, but he still fought forward to be free, even though he was in a bondage situation, right? But then they strapped him to a pole, and then they began to lash him to make him say the name that they wanted to give him instead of Kunta Kinte, which was Toby, right? Not only is this a disgrace, this woman cutting this young black man's locks, right? Not only is this a disgrace, it goes against so many laws. So many laws, like look at that picture, and what does that remind you of? Does that not remind you of what's going on? Gail Jackson, I see she chimed in. Does that not remind you of Samson and Delilah? Now, for those of you who are not necessarily versed, there is a certain groups that you're not supposed to cut the hair, trim your hair or anything. You're supposed to let the locks grow, right? And for this man who may not know who he is within that lineage line, having this woman come in and cut his locks goes against many different laws, and to put in the politic of personal responsibility. And even he talks about it. You can go on to TMZ and search this out. It's called, you'll see it under Crusher Club. It's a Chicago boxing club. You type in Crusher Club locks cut, and then you will be able to see this story. And there's a video there that TMZ took of this young man, and he was talking about Ava DuVernay and her tweet about this situation, about the disgraceful picture. Now, this is a few years ago. This is about 2016. This is 2019, but it resurfaced. And why did it resurface? Because Meek Mill gave $200,000 to this woman's organization that is supposed to be, quote unquote, helping inner city children, right? And my thing is, there's a lot of self-help groups run by black people. How come that money isn't going there? Why is it going to, in my opinion, Delilah over here? You know what I mean? So the question is raised now, why is this money going to this woman that is preaching this, it appears to be politic of personal responsibility to the people. Her name is Sally Hazelgrove, and his name is Kobe Richardson. Now, get this right now. Look at the picture real close. Look at her real close. If you can zoom in real close, right? He, in the video, says that she is God. In the video, he says that this woman right here is God. That she's God in this community because she's always in Inglewood. And so then that makes me think, well, Michelangelo's brother, white Jesus, you know what I mean? That this woman right here is God. Now, at the same time, I don't know him personally, but I bet you if people came up to him like Young Pharaoh and said, the black woman is God. He would say, ain't no black woman God. But this woman right here who is cutting his strength is God, right? So for people who don't know the Samson and Delilah story in the Bible, right? Samson was a judge, right? And so I'll leave that much because I want you to go research this for yourself. But he was a judge. But Samson then fell in love with a beautiful Philistine woman named Delilah. Now, by no stretch in the imagination, which makes this, and I'll leave that right there. But no stretch in imagination am I saying. But anyway, so he falls in love with Delilah. The rulers in Philistine came to Delilah and offered her money if she found out what made Samson so strong. This stuff has been playing out, and however you take the Bible, if you take it literally or you take it figuratively, these stories are there to tell you the message. Let me go over it again. The rulers in Philistine came to Delilah and offered her money if she found out what made Samson strong. Delilah went home and made a great meal for Samson and asked him what made him so strong. Samson responded that if he was tied up with 7 new bowstrings that had not been dried, he would lose his strength. Delilah went and told the rulers, who instructed her to tie up Samson in his sleep. To Delilah's surprise, Samson had tricked her and was able to break free. Samson again told that he would lose his strength if tied up with bowstrings, but that they had to be new and never used. Delilah again tried to trap Samson while he slept, but he was able to break free. Delilah was very hurt by Samson and questioned his love for her, since he could not share his secret to his strength. Let's stop right there for a minute. Let's look at this picture. Now he goes on to talk about that, he comes from Inglewood and neighborhood in Chicago, right? And that this woman right here, this woman is God, and that he couldn't afford to pay a barber, a black barber, to cut his head. He couldn't. Now he didn't say black, I'm saying black. He couldn't afford a barber, so he asked her to do it. And he told Ava DuVernay, both of yous loves y'all community, and maybe if y'all sit down and talk with each other, because it's just a misunderstanding, and if y'all spoke, y'all would probably like each other. Okay. Let's continue with the story of Samson and Delilah. The next day, Delilah asked Samson continuously about his strength and bugged him so much that he finally told her the secret to his strength, that he was given his strength at birth by God, and that if his hair was cut, he would lose his strength. That evening as Samson slept, Delilah cut his hair and called in the Philistines. The Philistine men were able to capture Samson. They barged in, gouged his eyes out, and took him to prison in Gaza. These people aren't even waiting to go to sleep or even push it. They automatically cut their strength off. And any man that wears his hair long, I have always said that you have to watch out for Delilah. Shanine says Meek didn't do his research. He surely didn't, Shanine. He really didn't do his research, right? Edward Martin just chimed in. I want to say what's up to them. So you see this, right? And so this is wrong on so many ways. It's just first of all, the politic of personal responsibility doesn't work, because when black men were dressed in three-piece suits and were standing on the corners just conversating with their buddies, here come the patty rollers blowing down, and it will be scatter mode. So it doesn't matter about how you dress, how you look, if your hair is Toby or if you are Kunta. It doesn't matter how you dress. You want to know what matters? Which we're going to get into in another show. The 3/5 compromise. 3/5 of a human being. That is what matters. And until that is changed on paper, it won't matter how you dress. It won't matter who's elected president. It won't matter until the truth is told about the patty rollers and how certain people got their citizenship through the hunt, maim, and murder of black bodies to continue the disastrously evil institution of slavery in the United States. Nothing will change with the 3/5 compromise, actually. So if you read that, and then we're going to talk about that on another episode. But this right here is disgusting. And when you watch the videotape, he says, this woman is God. I guess it's not nice to mess with Mother Nature. Oh man, it's really something. So that's one of the things that's going on. But you know what? If we are going to have someone cutting our hair, and we're cutting it into styles, and we don't necessarily believe in the long locks or Rastafari and Rastafarian beliefs, then there's no one else that should be cutting our hair than one of our own, like here, illustrated here in Big Daddy Kane's, during the time that Big Daddy Kane reigned hip-hop, and he had one of his dancers cutting the hair and cutting the high top fade, which then the high top fade branches off into the twist, which turns into the locks, which then get you closer to being Samson. Do we understand what's going on here? And we keep on seeing it coming back. So when you see the fades coming back and you see the twist happening, and then they turn into locks, that is the consciousness returning. And anytime that you are fooled, not fool enough, but fooled enough to think that is not what they see, and whenever they see that, they have to release something potent into the world, which is the cannabis, and then they have to say that. And you see around the country, they're telling kids they have nice haircuts, nice symmetrical haircuts, nice parts in it. They're telling them, they're marking it in their sides with markers. They're saying they can't have these haircuts. This once happened at my alma mater, my high school that I graduated. I graduated from Catholic school. And see, what happens is, when the high top fade comes out, it's a nice style, and you're raising up and you're raising your crown, right? And that's what this is all about. You're raising your crown, and then your crown then twists, and then it turns into locks, and then it starts to grow, and it grows down your back, and you have strength through your locks. This is what this is all about, right? So in the schoolhouse, we were wearing the high top fades, and no problem. But then the next year, the white boys saw us wearing it that year. That was the freshman year. Sophomore year, they came back with the sides cut with parts, and then they found a way through mousse to spike their hair to try to make it high. So then that's when the officials at the schoolhouse said, well, no, we can't have them trying to emulate these black boys. So then they blew down on the black boys and was trying to get us to cut our hair. And myself, I wasn't about to cut my crown. So I went in and talked to the assistant principal, and he sat down. I used to wear a little ducktail in the back. So, you know, in politics, there's compromise. So that all the black young men, we were boys then. Here I am, a boy, 17 years old, going in talking to a full-grown man about hairstyles and negotiating and negotiating through politics what needs to happen. So I used to have a little ducktail to set mine apart, you know, because I had naturally wavy hair. So I had that up, and then I would have a little ducktail. So he said, well, cut off the little ducktail in the back, and, you know, then everybody can keep it. So I compromised, right? I said, okay, we'll do that. So everyone was able to keep the high top fade, and, you know, it's a stylish, neat cut. You got to worry about what your boys are doing. You got to corral them and put them back to them flat, nappy, stringy haircuts that they had before they got the flair and the style from the African American boys that were in the schoolhouse. Right? That's facts. Right? So then I go back to one of my buddies, and I thought was a buddy, and I told him, I said, hey, you know, I got it negotiated. Well, we can go. I just had to cut that out. Well, you still had to cut. You still had to cut that. See, that's when you learn that we don't think like a monolith, and they always say that. And there's always people who are not satisfied. And then his chosen profession later in life showed me that he wouldn't have valued that anyway because of his chosen profession later in life. Okay, so as you see, here it is. So it goes from the crown to the twist to the locks, and then you're taking away a natural progression from the young black boy coming into manhood, where he decides how he wants to wear his hair, right? You're taking that away. Now, if he chooses to cut it off, it's one thing, but when it comes into the politics of personal responsibility, and the way that he said that, let me put this back up one more time. So, the way that he said that this woman right here is God. He said, you can watch the video. He says, it's the way that he said that this woman is God. He wouldn't admit that. I don't think, just my opinion, I don't think he would admit that it was politics of personal responsibility. But here's what I'm saying. What if we come up as black males? What if we come up with a law that says that white women that come around us can no longer wear their hair long? It has to be in a bowl cut, like that movie is. It was only a paper moon. Maybe it has to be a bowl cut, and your hair can't go past your shoulders when walking around us, or down your back, or any of that. You can't have that hair around us. You know what I'm saying? It could be a health hazard, lice or something, but you can't have that around us, right? Oh, what if we said, like G.I. Jane, that all white women to be safe for black males had to buzz cut like G.I. Jane. At least that way we would know that possibly you don't like males, and then we'd be like, hey, you know, we don't have to be around. Now, this is not talking about black women, so I don't want any black women coming in and complaining about what I'm saying. We're talking about the situation of Delilah and Samson, and how Solomon said that you're not supposed to mix with people from foreign lands. You can go find that out for yourself. But in the end, as he got older and feeble, he did just that. Unbelievable. So it's like a history to teach you things. But anyway, G.I. Jane. Maybe they should all cut their hair down like G.I. Jane, and then it will no longer be a threat to black men. That's right. All right. So, in closing, people, of that topic. In closing of that topic, let your sons, once they get to about 15, 16, 17, choose their way as far as their hair is concerned, right? Because it's coming into their own. Like I said, it's the crown, then the locks, then the twist, then the locks. It's a progression, and then let them have the ability to choose, but don't let it be turned into something political that then an organization that can be created to then make money off of black people, like has traditionally been done. Huh? Come on now. It's like, that is my pet peeve when it comes to all this. People being taken advantage of and money being made off of them when the money should be coming directly to them. If you want black people to be helped, fund directly to black people. Right? And so we're going to say that. Now, people, the last topic we're going to talk about today is about marketing and promoting your music, right? Now, if a person is talking to you about marketing and promoting your music, and they never put records out, run away. If they don't know, listen, if a person is in their 60s and they are talking about marketing and promoting your music, but they don't really know anything about hip-hop music, and you know through history, if you read the history, that there are people who are now 60 years old that started hip-hop music, and that would make them the same age as the people who are trying to tell you about how you should do your career, and they didn't know anything about it, and they were more into R&B or jazz or whatever. Run from them as fast as you can. Run for the hills. Run, get away. Again, if they never did hip hop, run. If they're of a certain age and they never put records out, run. If they're 60 years old and you know that there are hip hop artists that are 60 years old that started hip hop who are still in the practice of the elements of hip hop, run from them, because they are leading you down the wrong road. They must have come from like some kind of corporate situation dealing with the corporate structure, and we know what the corporate structure is. It's the same kind that will make you cut your hair like Delilah did Samson. Alright? And so it's the same corporate structure, and so something must have fell out with them, and then you need to run. Listen, if they never had one of these, right? If they never had one of these, let me see if I can focus it in. If they never had a medallion with a gold chain, with their name on it, sparkling, do you see that? If they never had one of these in their 20s, right? In their 20s, if they never had one of these, they were not doing hip-hop music, okay? They were not doing hip-hop music, or at least they weren't successful at it, because this is a mainstay. It started with Run DMC with the gold chains, but the gold chains are out, and we're not talking about having a Lazarus piece or a Jesus piece or a cross. We're talking about having your own medallion with your name on it on a gold chain. That's hip hop staple. If they didn't have it in their 20s, if they don't have this and they can't present this to you, then they really weren't doing anything in their 20s as far as hip hop was concerned. If they can't show you records that are still moving in the digital realm still today, run from them, because they are leading you down the road, right? If they are 20, if they were in their 20s and they didn't get this, right, and they're in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, and they don't have one of these, what were they doing in their 20s? I got this in my 20s, right? producing hip hop, opening up my own store, doing all that. You know, proof is in the pudding. It's there. It's up. Everything I say is factual and true. So if they don't have one of these, run, because they're not telling you. Because this is a hip hop staple. Everyone who has ever done anything actually in hip hop, not just gold chains, not just Lazarus pieces, not just Jesus pieces, not just crosses, but your own medallion with your name on it, moving across and getting things done. Crazy D's music, right? You're a teenager or you're in your 20s. You're not going to live your life like you're a 30-year-old. You're not going to live your life like you're a 40-year-old. You're not going to live your life like you're a 50-year-old, and you're definitely not going to live your life like you're a 60 to a 90-year-old. You have to put the wind to your back. You take all their cautionary tales and you put the wind to the back and you learn from them. That's what our story is for. His story, her story is for, to learn the mistakes of the past so you don't do it, but you forge forward to make new mistakes. But you are out to get it, because if they are there and they are out there, let me tell you something. If they're out there on the street doing hustling on the street, like I did that in my 20s. I sold mixtapes, I DJ parties, I opened my store in my 20s. You don't see me out there on the street hustling. I use this platform. I say, here's what I have. Either you go with it or not, because the proof is in the pudding, and I know how to market and promote. Because everyone should have one of their own with their name on it or their brand name on it. That happens to be my name and my brand name on it. Crazy D's Music, and the store was Crazy D's Music Palace. The label was Crazy D's Music. Right? So, in closing, if the people are 60 years old, and you know that there are people who are 60 years old, but they know nothing about hip hop, and they're telling you that they love, they're starting to get to know your hip hop, run! If they don't have a medallion with their name on it that they got in their 20s, right? That they got in their 20s. Turn this around one more time. That they got in their 20s. What were they doing in their 20s to be able to tell you now in your 20s, your teens in your 20s, what to do, and they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s? What were they doing? So, in closing, people, I remember, I'm going to tell one last story, and then we're going to close on this song here. I remember a new radio station had come to Cleveland, Ohio. It was called 107.9. It took over from, 108 was originally the club style station. That came in around 77, 78, and it introduced club style DJing, and the DJs came and mixed, right? Then it went out and it went to a pop station. Somebody bought it, but then someone else bought the bandwidth and began 107.9, right? So 107.9 reps came into the store and they wanted to sell me space to be there with a table. I said, I don't want to be there with a table, because I had that happen before, and you know, there was confrontation. But another story for another time. So I said, but I'll get the banner space and we'll come there and, you know, have the DJ play my record. So there on, lo and behold, there on the turntables was Cut J.O., Johnny O, and rest in peace, Wild C. So I gave them the Sean Styles CD, and I had a record in mind, because, you know, I believed in pretty much on the dance floor of, you could mix slow music with a slow tempo beat, and people would go from regular dancing into slow dance. That was my style when I was DJing. People used to love it. But anyway, every DJ is different. So they came in their headsets, right? Because they told me afterwards. So I'm telling you before and after. So I handed it to them, and we waited, right, for it to play, right? The dance floor was semi-packed, right? And this was the first time that 107.9, you know, was coming, and I was well involved in it. Other people had little stickers on little cassette tapes that we're passing out. But I had my banner up, well placed for Crazy D's Music Palace, right? So we were there. It was the group of guys that I was producing at the time, and we were there. And Wild C. So afterwards, Wild C said, "Well, the reason why we chose that beat because it had a bouncy beat and it was ready for the dance floor, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, but this is what happened." The song came on. Now, this is something that usually never happens with a new song that, no one has ever heard. This usually never happens, but this happened. As sure as I'm sitting here talking to you with my gold medallion with my name on it. As sure as I'm telling you, it's at Crazy D's Music Palace. Alright? Crazy D's Music, the label. As sure as I sit here and tell you this, we're sitting there and the record, he stops the music and he says, "This is a new record from produced by Crazy D, Sean Styles, 131 Below album, Freakin'." And he put it on, and he went doom doom, doom doom, doom doom, ba boom 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 boom, ba boom 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 boom. Because my production deals with bass lines. I like bass lines playing predominantly in mine because the bass line, I always heard that in the 70s funk music, and so I brought the bass line more up front, right? That's my style. Everybody's got their own style. That was my style, right? So the floor packs. As sure as I am sitting here showing you my gold medallion with my name on it, and I'm Crazy D, and I'm sitting here, and I did this, and I own my store. Sure as the store packed, the floor packed, boom, boom, and they were dancing to it like it was already a hit record, right? So with elements of that, and this record is still a hit today. The subject matter is still what hip hop bona fides is, and I never curtail what my artists rapped about. I never could tell what my artist rapped about. I always told him, I said, "Do your thing. I'm with you doing your thing," right? So without further ado, this is what we're going to close with today. We're going to close with Freakin', and it is available. So, you just search it out on Apple Music and all those platforms because it is available. It's what's available. So without further ado, people, as we close out, we'll see you next time on TFR Live. I'm not coming back after this. We're going to close with this. And it is Freakin' by the Crazy D's Lordland All-Stars. That's how you search it. You search Freakin' Crazy D's Lordland All-Stars, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon, you name it, it's there. Oh yeah, listener discretion is advised because this is uncut. So here we go.
Let the games begin. It's the freaking, so coming round. asking these niggas to stop stripping and fussing. Nobody's scandalous ass bitches who ain't giving them nothing to see. Me being the nigga that I am. If pussy ain't in the plans from the jump, your ass gotta scram. Understand we in the club getting our thug on. Hella deep as usual. This bitch is in my visual. Physically straight up beautiful. Heard it through the vibe from my crew. She used to fuck with this one nigga that I knew who stay up in the ice flirt with ice and ice. He's like Versace jeans. Paid up by 2G's for the pinky ring. Don't mean a thing. If you ain't got the game to pull the bitch just like a string, the only thing she want is to be seen in the land. Fucking with so sin, telling her friends that I'm her man. She better think again. It's all about the skins. If you ain't freaking, I ain't speaking. But baby, if you freaking, then we creeping for the weekend. To the comfort in and spend a couple of hours. I showers and hit that ass and holla bye bye, bitch. If the roles would switch, you would probably do the same shit. I know you would. Gotta admit, I treat you good like I'm supposed to. But if no pussy coming out them drawers, the conversation won't go no further. I hate to hurt ya.
That's the way the story goes.
Another weekend, we tangerine some hoes. So what's happening then?
Right with a fifth of gin.
Nigga, I'ma blaze it up, so let the games begin.
It's the freaking. How many corners must I be in? Mashing out in my nine with some female friends. Sipping gin and juice. Slamming with the deuce. Get my wig to the curb. Hit up the 33rd. Nigga, word. Big red from about the end. You in. I bring my 10. So seeing shiny styles. If you all let them rocks on mouth. Ooh, child. Don't fuck with 5-0 cause they foul HG. Can't see these 3s and V's crumbling trees. Slamming these lyrics to beats. Words I speak. Peep game. Fuck these buzzers and lame. Falling victim to the game from these freaks and dames I maintain. Come and see me keeping cash and cream. Back on the scene just like the brothers. It's HG motherfuckers. Best believe I'm bringing plenty ruckus. Flow with my knuckles and we all pack it. To knock the world off its taxes. I smack this down. I'm back in town like the crimes. It's the freakin' that we coming down. Kick it with us and paint the town. Yeah, know what I'm saying? So seeing shiny styles, big ran. Represent, you know what I'm saying? 99, 2000, whatever. Crazy D's, you know what I'm saying? Up in the spot, laying it down. Yeah.
Here's the thing about your movie, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Film. Community, heart. Crazy.